So I'm neither at an airport or on a plane, but I'm over here on a very empty Son Matias beach here in Palma Nova to bring you some official Ryanair news. Because as of today, on the 12th of November, they will be moving to digital boarding passes. And in this video, I'm going to hopefully debunk some news reports that you may have seen about this. In fact, I don't want you to worry about this at all, particularly if you don't have a smartphone or indeed something happens to your smartphone and you're heading through the airport. So I have already spoken about this, but I do want to clear up confusion. And like I said, I've got some official information from Ryanair, because all over social media, I've seen comments about Ryanair being non-inclusive to all flight passengers by this need to have a digital boarding pass. But well, this just isn't the case. So what's going on and what is it going to mean to you if you're going to be taking a Ryanair flight in the future? Well, according to their website, they say Ryanair is moving to 100% digital boarding passes from the 12th of November 2025. And that means that all passengers will now receive a digital boarding pass to their Ryanair app when they check in online, as paper boarding passes will no longer be issued. Online check-in can be completed on Ryanair.com or on the Ryanair app. Now, this is really important because no longer will you be able to print out your boarding pass and take it to the airport. But what happens if you do not have a smartphone? And what happens if in the past you've been asking, say, a travel agent or a friend to print off your boarding pass? Well, the key is, and we're going to go through the official information, is that you actually check in online first, either through Ryanair.com or through the Ryanair app. Now, by being able to use Ryanair.com, you can still go on to ask maybe your travel agent to check in on your behalf. You can ask your friends or your family to check in on your behalf too. And this is absolutely key because, and we're going to go through some questions and answers here, which Ryanair have put together. The key is to check in before you get to the airport, and that your name does appear on the airline's manifesto for that day to fly. But what about passengers who don't have a smartphone or tablet? And this is going to apply, and I know it's going to apply to some of you guys coming over here on holiday. And I do know that I do have some elderly viewers as well watching the channel. This is good news. So they say if passengers don't have a smartphone or tablet, as long as they already have checked in online before arriving to the airport, they will receive a free of charge boarding pass. So you can see nobody's being discriminated against here. The absolute key is that you do check in online before arriving to the airport. However, the downside to this is that you will not be able to access real-time flight updates or benefit from enhanced customer service during any flight disruptions. So once again, the key message is check in before you get to the airport, which you'll have to do anyway. So, there's been so much of a backlash against Ryanair about introducing this, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see other airlines follow in the future, just using this really, really simple procedure. So Ryanair say about airport check-in, they say all Ryanair passengers will still receive email reminders to check in online 48 and 24 hours before departure. If any passenger arrives at the airport and hasn't checked in, having ignored these reminders, they will still be required to pay an airport check-in fee. So you can see you can still technically fly even if you don't check in, but it is going to cost you. If you do get to the airport and you haven't checked in, you are going to have to pay an airport check-in fee. But what happens if you lose your smartphone or your tablet? They say if you have already checked in online and your smartphone or tablet is lost, you will receive a free of charge boarding pass at the airport. So this is really key, but the key to this is that you will have had to have checked in before getting to the airport and at least 2 hours before your flight. And I just want to point out as well that this isn't anything new. Whether you're flying with EasyJet or any other airline, you still have to check in 2 hours before your flight. So just bear that in mind. You can't actually get your flight if you're checking in under 2 hours before your flight. Also, what happens if your tablet dies before airport security? Once again, it says if you've already checked in online and your smartphone or tablet dies, you will receive a free of charge boarding pass at the airport. Ryanair says as well, and I'm really glad they've been going around the social media networks to see what people's comments and questions have been about this, but they've said, what if I lose my phone or tablet after security but before boarding? Once again, they say if you have already checked in online and you lose your smartphone or tablet or it dies, your details are already in the system and you will be assisted to the gate. People have also asked as well, will you have check-in desks at the airport? Ryanair says, yes, we will have check-in and ticket desks at the airport. So once again, there will be a customer service presence at the airport if you have any questions, queries, or you do need that paper boarding pass. Also, another question, will you still charge a boarding pass reissue fee? They say, thanks to the digital boarding passes, boarding pass reissue fees will disappear as long as you have checked in online prior to arriving at the airport. Another question, what if airport Wi-Fi is poor and I have no mobile data? This sometimes happens to me as well. Obviously I don't have my mobile data on when I'm actually at Bristol Airport, whenever I go back to the UK. But the key is, once again, you must have checked in online and your digital boarding pass will be available offline in the Ryanair app. I would also say as well, make sure if you are an iPhone user, save that to your wallet because that'll also pop up on your phone as well as a reminder. I always do that as well. Just keep all my tickets, my boarding passes in the wallet area of my phone, because also I've found with the Ryanair app too that sometimes it logs me out, which is a real pain with your username and your password. If you don't have that boarding pass saved in your wallet, you're going to have to re-log into that app. So that's something I've got to say. Sometimes you do get logged out of it. They say too, what if I'm visually impaired and in need of special assistance? Ryanair says our digital boarding pass meets all accessibility standards and special assistance available at all airports. However, why has this move been made to digital boarding passes? Well, they say the digital boarding pass lowers airport costs and fares for all Ryanair passengers. It provides a better service, including flight information for customers on the day of travel. It also improves customer service and rebooking during flight disruptions, and it's better for the environment because it gets rid of 300 tonnes of paper annually. So I have to say, whenever I have used the Ryanair app, it has been very, very simple to use. And the best thing about it as well is that it does manage any flight disruption, which is absolutely key, especially if your flight gets delayed and also if the gate number changes as well. I would also say though, double check your flight information on the departure boards. Sometimes I've had a gate number appear on the app and then maybe it's changed on the departure board. What else do they say? How does this actually work? Check in on Ryanair.com or the app prior to arriving to the airport. You will then receive from that, you'll receive your digital boarding pass, which will allow you then to enter security to make your way over to the gate and then board your flight. As they say, it is hassle-free, it's quicker, it's easier, it's less stress and there's zero paper involved. However, we do have a slight exception to the digital boarding pass rule here, and that's going to be for passengers flying to Morocco. Ryanair says for flights on or after the 12th of November 2025, passengers flying from Morocco must check in online as normal and then present their digital boarding passes at the airport to collect a printed boarding pass. So Morocco's still doing it in an old-fashioned way, and they won't be doing it differently, but Ryanair say that you still have to check in online and then you will get your paper boarding pass from the desks when you're leaving Morocco. Same thing as well, what happens if you don't check in online before arriving to the airport? And it says you will be required to pay the airport check-in fee. So once again, super important. Okay, so in summary, as the sun is trying to come out over here in Palma Nova, don't worry too much. If you're coming over here, if you don't have a smartphone, you do not intend getting a smartphone or any kind of tablet, you can still ask your travel agent or whoever has booked your flights to check in on your behalf. The only thing is that you don't and you can't print your boarding passes, and you are going to have to pick up a paper boarding pass from the airport. Families travelling, if you have made your booking under one booking, say you've got 4 people travelling under one booking, you can hold all the boarding passes in your one app as well. So it'll just be a case of swiping each family member as you go through security and then boarding onto that flight as well. So one person can hold all boarding passes under that one family booking. Same goes as well if you're travelling with friends too. The only downside, like I said, is that you are going to have to keep an eye on departure boards and on the screens, and just to make sure as well of your gate number, double check that, because you will not get the alerts if you don't have a phone, and you won't also have the added customer service benefits of being able to order to your seat either. But apart from that, I just want to say, please do not worry. Ryanair have kept this really simple. Now, as I said, I'm pretty sure other airlines are going to follow suit with this, but as we can see, Ryanair is leading the way, and we're going to see over the coming months how this is going to roll out as well. And I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fine. There's going to be nothing to worry about, in spite of the news stories that you may well have seen circulating in the press, and also comments as well on social media groups, particularly Facebook, I have to say as well, which older people do tend to use. Okay everyone, thank you very much for watching. I do, and I will have more airline news coming soon. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. I've also got more information coming out as well about what's going on in Mallorca over the winter, as well as some fantastic guides as well, and some tips and advice to help you out for your summer holiday for next year too. Okay everyone, I will be back here in Palma Nova very soon. In the meantime, don't forget you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram, also called Mallorca Under the Sun, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Goodbye for now.